So this is the CV that I used to land my current job as a smart contract auditor, and I thought I would just share this because I know a lot of you guys are trying to get into this industry, and I will just state off the bat that it's probably, when I got in, my timing was probably really good in terms of when I applied to this job because right now we are in the crypto bear market, and especially in this industry, the opportunities sort of come in waves. It comes and goes, and at the moment, as far as I know, a lot of the big auditing firms, they have slowed down their hiring, and most of the smaller firms, they're not hiring anymore. So it might be a bit of a struggle to get into this industry at this particular time. So I really do feel you on that. But I do think that I don't know exactly when, but when we hit the next bull market, I am pretty sure that there will be plenty of opportunities out there, especially for people who are really working hard on upskilling at this time. So keep going, and hope this will help you guys just to see what sort of CV is getting a good response rate at the moment. Because with this CV, I actually got a pretty good response rate when I applied to the major auditing firms. I got a response from most of the firms, and at least had an initial chat with them. And I was pretty surprised, like the response rate I was getting. Because maybe because it was also to do with my YouTube channel as well, because I do post pretty regularly and I'm active on Twitter, so maybe that is a factor. Like having a blog, getting your name out there is a really important factor to landing a job, because people can just go onto your YouTube channel or your blog or whatever. They can see you're active, you're actually like a legit person trying to, working hard at trying to get into this field. So that may have played a factor. So I do recommend you also just to keep a blog, be active on Twitter, and just get your name out there. That is going to be helpful in terms of landing a job in this industry. Now, the first thing I will mention is so I put my code arena experience right at the top, and this was actually something I heard from a recruiter in Web3. They were hiring auditors, and I gave them my CV, and before I had my code arena experience like somewhere down here, like not right at the top. And the advice that came back to me was just put your code arena experience right at the top, because auditing firms, they are really valuing that code arena experience, because it translates very well to auditing on the job. And like you guys who are finding regular findings, like medium and high findings on code arena, you are pretty much able to hit the ground running, I think, if you get a job as an auditor. So auditing firms are really starting to hone in on that and are really valuing that code arena experience. And I heard from the recruiter as well, like auditing firms, that is one of the major things that they're looking for when they are hiring. So put your code arena experience or any other bug bounty experience like Sherlock or Immunify right at the top, so they can see that you are sort of actively upskilling and participating in the security of Web3. So my previous experience was from penetration testing at a big consultancy firm here in Australia. So mainly I did a mobile and network penetration tests. And I think most of that stuff doesn't really translate that well to smart contract auditing. I think the biggest thing that translated is report writing, client communications, like sort of that consultancy experience, because a lot of auditing is pretty much you are a security consultant, right? You're writing reports, writing good reports. Technical writing is very important. So that will translate pretty well. And basically, like I would say, two categories of experience would be really helpful in terms of getting a job as a smart contract auditor. One is that cybersecurity or consultancy experience, and the other one is developer experience. Developer, if you're a developer, your skills will translate very well to auditing, because you're pretty much like writing code, finding bugs in the code. You're doing that as your job anyway. So learning smart contract auditing will be easier. Translating your skills into this industry will be easier. I would honestly prefer like a developer experience, to be honest. And for like developers, you just sort of need to learn those report writing and consultancy, client communications sort of skills. So those would be the areas you need to work on if you're coming from like a developer background. Now, for me, I had to sort of learn the technical sort of like code reviews, writing tests, that kind of stuff a lot. It was a more of a struggle for me to transition into this field due to the technical side of things, because as a penetration tester, honestly, like for me, one thing I would say is like before I got into penetration testing, I thought it was a lot more technical, and once I got in, I think it's like generally I would say it's a lot less technical than I imagined, right? Because most of the time you are just running tools and just like pwning companies with like the dumbest shit like over and over again. And it's always the low-hanging fruit. And like you can go pretty deep in technical wise in terms of penetration testing, but most engagements you're on, you're just using like the most basic stuff. So you're almost like a script kiddie like most of the time. So the opportunities to develop deep technical expertise as a penetration tester, I think, is there's not that much opportunities as a penetration tester, unless you are sort of studying by yourself after work, because on the engagement you don't really have that opportunity to sort of dive too deep in the technical side of things, unless it actually has to do with that particular engagement, right? So if you really want to upskill and go deep in terms of from a technical perspective, you really have to do a lot of self-study after work. So that was actually kind of how I found my way into Web3 security, because I kind of wanted to go a bit more like deeper on the technical side, more into code. So that's how I sort of discovered smart contract auditing and Web3 security, and I went down this rabbit hole. Yeah, great fun as a security consultant. Penetration testing, really fun field. Mainly, it's just like I mentioned, that you have to sort of self-study if you want to go deeper into the technical side of things. Basically, developer experience comes in really useful. Cybersecurity experience comes in useful. That is pretty much like the two major fields where I see people have transitioned into this industry. Actually, probably most of the people were developers. They transition a lot easier, I think, into this industry. So if you're already a developer and you're trying to get into this stuff, especially if you're a smart contract developer, I think it'll come really natural to you. And having that work experience on your CV as a smart contract developer, that is going to be really helpful in terms of trying to get a job into this industry. And obviously, like smart contract auditing on Code Arena, other like independent, any audits you've done, like on Audit One, on Sherlock, on Sparebit, any of your previous audits, put them on your CV as well, and put them like right at the top, like similar to how I put on for the smart contract auditing on Code Arena. And like people who, I think my timing was just so good, like both on Code Arena and applying to this job, because on Code Arena I got in around April of this year, and that was when Code Arena was a lot easier, I would say, in terms of finding vulnerabilities and getting paid and climbing that leaderboard. So I actually got a top 60 for 2022. I think I might be between 60 to 65 at the moment. And yeah, my timing for that was really good. Like at the moment, if you go on Code Arena and try to climb the leaderboard, it's getting really hard. And I guess, in terms of pay, you won't be receiving that much in terms of monetary reward on Code Arena, but it's still, like I said, 100% worth it if you're trying to get into this industry. That Code Arena experience. And even if you don't get paid that much, if you find like highs and medium severity findings, you can still put in as 10 highs or like whatever mediums you find. That still looks pretty impressive, right? Even if you are not that high on the leaderboard in terms of like monetary reward. Those findings, like how many you found, is still pretty impressive when you are applying for a job, and really helpful in that regard. And next section, I've got my certifications. Now, certifications, I wouldn't really say it's very important in terms of smart contract auditing. There's no certifications in this field, and you really have to go out there and sort of learn the stuff by yourself. And actually, the best part of being in a new industry is that all the best resources are actually free. So I've made a bunch of videos in the past about resources of getting into this industry. If you're interested, yeah, leave a comment in the video description below. I can drop you some resources for you to look into. But yeah, basically they're all free and no certifications, but in a way it's good. So like previously, I was like in the mind of collecting certifications. Like I was into OSCP, like just hammering out as many certifications as possible. But I've really sort of changed my mind around that because I really enjoy just digging into stuff and learning whatever that I want to look into at the time, instead of having that structured learning path. And some people sort of prefer that, and I think if you are that type of person, I would really recommend you venture out a bit more and just experiment with learning and doing a bit of research yourself. Because if you're looking into coming into the Web3 security industry, you're going to have to do your own research around a lot of these topics. Just go out there, use Google, and there's ChatGPT now, so you can ask ChatGPT about things. Yeah, a lot of resources out there where you can sort of do your own research around this. So interesting point about OSCP. Now the hiring manager he also had the OSCP, so it was a bit of a talking point because OSCP is it's a bit of a struggle to get through that certification. Very, very frustrating, and I guess that kind of like translated well in terms of just giving me the confidence to learn something hard, right? Because like previously, I haven't done anything like offensive security related, so getting that certification was actually pretty difficult for me, and actually just going through that, right, and that frustrating process of trying to get that certification. It's a 24-hour exam, and the labs are incredibly frustrating to get through. So yeah, just having that experience of learning something hard, especially in a technical field, and overcoming it, really gave me the confidence that if I encounter something that I find difficult in the future, especially like smart contract auditing, getting into this, I just got into this at the beginning of this year, and like getting into this industry, there was a lot of concepts and things that I have never encountered before, right? So you just have to sort of struggle through that and do your own research. And having gone through that process one time already sort of gives me the confidence that I can, learn new stuff and be good at it eventually if you just put in the time and effort into it, right? So, yeah, certifications are only the mindset part of getting the OSCP transferred, and it was a bit of a talking point in the interview I had because the hiring manager also had the OSCP, so we sort of bonded for a bit over the struggles of getting this certification. And before I got into IT, I was actually working in financial services for a while. So I did get a degree in computer science. I worked in financial services, and then I decided to pivot back into IT, and I got a MSP support engineer role, pretty much like a help desk role, and then I worked my way up to doing more sysadmin type of stuff, like around Active Directory, Office 365, and then through that I found my way into security. I got a contract. From transitioning from IT into security, I did a try hack me, hack the box, always CP, that kind of stuff, which got me into offensive security, penetration testing. Got a job, just a contract work as a penetration tester, just on one or two gigs. And then from that, I landed a full-time role as a pen tester at a big consultancy firm. And yeah, like I mentioned before, it's not as technical as I imagined it to be initially. Like the resources I mentioned before, like try hack me, hack the box. Doing those things transitions you very well into performing penetration tests, and like honestly, I don't think it's that you require that deep of a technical knowledge to even get into cybersecurity in the first place. So I'm kind of frustrated. Like a lot of students who are graduating in cybersecurity, they are struggling to find opportunities in this space, because honestly, like if you train someone to do this kind of stuff, it's not that hard for you to get to that base level where you're able to perform engagements on your own. So yeah, it's a bit of a frustration. Like I can really feel you students who are trying to get into this industry, like break into that first job, especially. It's going to be the hardest job to get. And ever since I actually transitioned into cybersecurity, like each of these roles was really like it sort of like came very easy compared to the first job, right? Because I've sort of got into penetration testing. So I got into IT, decided to specialize into security, got into penetration testing, and then from that decided to specialize in Web3 security. So it's more of like a going very broad from IT and then specializing up into a particular field that I'm interested in. So I guess that's a pretty good way to progress your career. I guess go broad, just try to find your interests. And previously, I had a chat to Jackson. He sort of talked around the same themes, like finding what you're passionate in, and just start to specialize and go towards that direction. And you really have to start somewhere, right? Just start very broad. Start to get some work experience, and then start to specialize. I think it's a pretty good way to find which direction in your career you want to go. So yeah, I just have my CV pretty much just on one page. Very very basic, small bullet points, just to give people the gist of what I do. And yeah, the response rate on the CV was very good. I had responses from most of the firms I applied to. Yeah, I hope this helps you guys. I just sort of got this CV template on the internet. Not that fancy, just like a little blue banner at the top, and then bullet points on the each of the roles, and yeah, a big emphasis on the bug bounty experience on Code Arena and the cybersecurity experience. So yeah, hope this helps you guys, and feel free to drop a comment if you have any questions around this, and give the video a like and subscribe if you want to see more around these topics. So thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next video.